Good morning, dudes. What's up? Welcome back. In case I didn't go over it yesterday at the end of the video, got quite a bit done. El Camino's pretty complete, so I'm gonna just run through it real quick with you guys and show you what I did up to date so far, kind of explain a little bit, and then we'll get back into it. So the body's all on, fenders, hood, grill, headlights, all that fun stuff. Actually got pretty far ahead. Got the rad in there and everything. Now it looks a little funny because the rad's sitting crooked, kind of throws everything else off. But this, it's all super solid. Even pushing on it, moving it, it's definitely not going anywhere. Mission accomplished. Now I made these hood pins. Kind of every race car's got hood pins. Hey, 1 second. Let me let the princess out. See ya. So I thought I was pretty smart making these. If you guys saw how I did it, I cut the pins to size. I drilled holes through here, marked exactly where it would need to go. 1 second. That one's a little tough. So I marked out the holes exactly where I was going to put them. The mounting brackets underneath. Made tabs on each end. That's what those big ass pieces were for on the back half here. I'll show you in a second when I get these hood pins out. Give me a second. So if you look underneath here, I made my own pins, baby. So I took some solid steel rod I got from Canac, the local awesome place. And let's look over here. Here I welded a tube to the outside, and that just holds the hood up enough that it's secure. When the pin's in, everything locks down nice and tight. So I made those hood pins out of this right here. It's basically some bar stock from the local like hardware. I got mine from Canac. I don't know what your local deal is. If you're American, it's probably Lowe's or something like that. Canadian Tire stuff, you can buy it like there. So I used that. I lowered the pins down to the height that I needed. Put a little dot where the hole would be. Now I did that with a little bit of pressure on the hood so that when the pins are in it, keeps it really nice and snug. Now I've got to make some little plates that kind of circle around to protect the actual hood, but that'll come much later when it's all painted up and it looks super professional. I already explained how I mounted the lights. The grill was also pretty easy. I just used a little bar stock, a little flat piece. Let's see if I can find one for you. Some of this right here. I put holes in it exactly where the grill would be. I cut them to the height of the grill, and then I just used a little piece of this, like I cut 1 inch off and put one on the top and then on the bottom to make sort of like a little ledge kind of grabber sort of deal. Like I made little tabs like this, right? Now it's not the prettiest, that's for sure, but I mean this thing's a monster, and it's just nice and solid and holds the grill in place. It's recessed a little bit, which I'm going to use to my advantage later on when I start making some more like panels and stuff. The hood's sitting crooked right now. I don't have it locked in properly, so don't mind the crookedness. And like I said, that rad is a little crooked right now because I don't have the rubber mounts in it, and the bottom half, well, it's got a mount for the fan that's interfering with one of the mounts without having that cushion piece. So today I'm looking at getting this monstrosity of a bumper onto it. It's super heavy, and I gotta pull these brackets off because they're just not gonna work with the way I have the frame set up in the front, and the frame's a little messed up in the front. One side's kind of bent down because it was, I guess, hit in its previous life. And I think that kind of actually transferred over to the build. It kind of looks like it's got that lean like it did earlier, and I might have to find a way to fix that. Maybe lift one corner of the body, but everything's lined up so far. The measurements are all spot on, so I don't know what's up. It just looks a little weird by eye. We'll see when it's all like final mock-up, but it's something to keep in mind. So I got to chop up the frame pieces here and here a little bit, try to figure out how to mount the bumper so that it sits properly, and also I want to be able to take it off for working on it. I think this big piece of metal right here is going to have a lot to do with the brackets. That's AJ hooked me up with that, and it's been pretty helpful so far. I made the pieces to hold the hood on with that, so I think that's part of the plan. I got some metal plate over here. Now, like I said, it's a front bumper, so you got to make it really good and solid so that if you do hit something, well, it's going to do its job. Can't have it too solid because then it's going to tweak and bend the frame up. But then again, with the cage and everything like that, I'll probably just go flying out the windshield with my seat strapped to me. So we'll take a good look before we start taking it apart again to get to work, right? Up, I was taking it apart. I started doing some measurements because I started seeing things that I didn't see before, brackets and everything else. I had access to stuff. Headlight covers still on, headlights, whatever, fenders are still on. I need that to line everything up. But I was checking it, measuring every little thing, and it's off. You could probably see in earlier videos, and I was talking about it just before, but the chassis, it's a little crooked. So I did all my measurements all down here to that frame point where you can see it's actually bent a little bit compared to that one. It's pretty obvious, right? But everything lined up with most of the chassis and stuff really well, so I couldn't figure out what the problem was. But it turns out that little edge right there, it's actually about 1/4 inch off, and it's only 1/4 inch, but when you look down the line of the hood, it's really kind of obvious in the fenders and stuff. So first things first, I'm gonna have to take care of that. I'm gonna do some cutting in here. You can see I cut it already before. This frame was like really screwed up, so I ended up chopping it off and redoing it, but it obviously settled wrong. So what I need to do is get it to go up. I'm gonna cut underneath here, across to the other side, all the way up both sides here. It's a good spot because it's less cutting to do because of that hole. I'm gonna leave just a bit of metal there, and then I'm gonna bend it up to get my proper exact measurement, and then weld it all back. I'll have to make some braces and stuff along the way, but that's part of the game, it's part of the challenge. There's always gonna be issues like this, it's just how you deal with it. So that about does it. That thickness of the bolt right there, I cut it all around. Check it out. Sloppy, dirty, nasty. But that thickness of the bolt turned out to be the exact height I needed to line everything up. So I'm gonna patch that up now, and then we're really gonna get to work. Like I said, I'm gonna dig in, take this big piece of metal, gonna make some plates for the bumper, front bash bar. I've gotta take it all apart still first. WD-40'd it. Blah, blah, I can't even speak, man. Can't even speak English anymore. I threw some WD-40 on this thing yesterday a couple times, last night, today. Hopefully the impact's gonna get those bolts off. I'm gonna have to make my own brackets on it and make it stick onto the front of this truck. It's gonna be heavy, so I'm gonna have to do it nice and thick. I'm gonna use probably some roll cage piping in that flat bar stock and some really big heavy bolts. I wanna be able to jump on this thing when it's done. So enough talking and wasting time. It's already enough time wasted today. Let's go for it. Still doesn't look straight.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. Catch me howling at the moon.